Hello everybody, and welcome to the first in what we hope to be a series of webinars brought to you by Robert Scott. We're coming live from the showroom at headquarters today. We're going to be starting in a couple of minutes, so we'll just let people log on to join the webinar and get comfortable. Make sure you've got a brew on the go. Before we start, you might have used Zoom before for some of you other webinars. But if not, then we've just got a couple of tools that we're going to be using today just to show you where they are. The nature of these sessions being called Ask the Clean Team, we want to make sure they're really interactive for everybody. So we welcome your questions throughout the session, but we will answer those towards the end where we've got a sort of 10-minute block. So if you do want to ask a question throughout the session, if you hover over your Zoom window at the bottom, you'll see a toolbar where there's a Q&A button and a chat function. So if you click on either of those, you can type your question in. They'll come through to us here in the showroom, and we'll ask Tracy and Peter to share their thoughts at the end when we run through the Q&A session. Just for ease of the session today, and I'm sure you all know how Zooms go, we've got you all on mute, and we will keep you all on mute in terms of the audience. So do submit your questions using the Q&A function, because that's how we're going to know what you want to ask. So I think we'll just check in on numbers and see who we've got joined on, and I think we can fire away. So I will hand you over to the sales managers, Tracy, Kirkpatrick and Peter Jones, to kick things off.
Thanks very much, Jo. Good afternoon, and welcome to the very first webinar hosted by Robert Scott's. Today we're going to be covering cleaning considerations and challenges facing the education sector during the current pandemic and then beyond. A little bit of introduction to myself. I've been working with Robert Scott's for over 10 years now. Started off on the shop floor in the mop room, worked my way through into sales, and I've been doing my current role of regional sales manager for 7 years now, working with over 200 distributors and covering Southern Ireland and large parts of the UK. With me is my colleague Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy Kirkpatrick. I'm also regional sales manager. I cover Scotland and Northern Ireland. I have been with the company 18 months now. Previously, I worked for a distributor dealing with chemicals, paper products, PPE. So been in janitorial and hygiene industry for 20-ish years.
Start when you were 15?
Yeah.
Start working when you were 15.
Showing my age here.
As Jo mentioned in sort of the intro before we came on, we're going to try and cover as many topics as we can. But if you do have any questions, please use the chat facility, and also if you use social media, hashtag #AskTheCleanTeam, and we'll try and cover them at the end of the session. So for those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with Robert Scott's, let me give you a bit of a background to Robert Scott's and who we are. Family run business, founded in 1925. We're probably one of the largest UK manufacturers and importer of cleaning products in the UK. Probably currently servicing approximately 70% of the market, the janitorial market, UK and Ireland. Part of our roles, me and Tracy make up a team of 10 regional and as part of a larger sales team, if you like, and part of our roles is working with our distribution network and working with end users. We like to be hands-on and do site visits, look at how people are cleaning, and then offer our advice using our know-how on best practices and how we can tailor products to suit their individual needs. So moving on from a bit of a background, Robert Scott's, a bit of background to the webinars. What we're ultimately looking to achieve from this is sharing our cleaning know-how.
Normally, as Pete said, when we 5 days a week, we'd be out support and would be speaking to end users on behalf of distributors. We can't get to do as often as we would like to, so this allows us to reach a wider audience, and whether that be professional
cleaners, non-professionals,
domestic even, you know, so
it just allows us to hit a wider audience. Obviously, we're often asked about cleaning applications, cleaning procedures from a variety of organisations, as Trace mentioned, not only from our distribution network, but also professionals, non-professionals. From my point of view, on my area, the schools have been back now for a couple of weeks. If I use an example of a friend of mine who's a primary school teacher, 2 weeks in, still very daunted by what's expected of them.
It's the same as Scotland's been back for 4 or 5 weeks now, and the feeling is still the same.
A lot of confusion.
It's changing all the time. The cleaning expectations, you know, there's pressures put on students, teachers, you know, and it's changing.
It's very difficult times, and although the schools are back, for us as a business, education and the challenges and considerations is still very much a hot topic. It's also a little bit close to our hearts in terms of education, because tying in with a community project that we run last year, we actually built a school on a bit of land near our premises for a school called Bright Futures.
Bright Futures is an independent school for children with autism, ranging from ages of 5 to 16. Yeah. It's not a huge school. It's quite a small school with 15 classrooms. There's about 22
pupils, about 13 members of staff.
They sort of work in a one-to-one,
offering one-to-one education. As you mentioned, Tracy, it's not the biggest school, but ultimately the challenges that they would face
would be very similar
to a school that might have 100 classrooms, whatever it might be, is going to be very similar.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, they opened in February of this year, like everyone else, sort of March time. School, it went to homeschooling.
Yeah.
They had to close. Yeah,
all us struggles.
Yes, very much struggles of homeschooling. So that they were forced to close. But when the time came for them to look at reopening, we were on hand to offer our advice and our expertise on helping them reopen safely. There is a case study on Bright Futures. There's information in the cleaning press, but just to summarise on sort of quickly on what we did, they'd already performed their own risk assessment in terms of reopening. We were on the hand then just to have a look at the cleaning procedures, what they had in place, and make recommendations. So particularly on this occasion, we looked at introducing microfiber cloths for cleaning. We also introduced colour-coded cleaning, and then we introduced our 2-can disinfectant cleaning system as well.
That's actually a really good example of what Pete had said with regards to what we as a team at Robert Scott, what we would do to support the distributors. So if distributors were wanting to go and meet an end user, help them with solutions, we're on hand to do that. So that's a perfect example of what we would actually do in a day-to-day basis to support our distributors.
Yeah, for those that are familiar with Robert Scott's, when we're doing training, as Tracy mentioned, when we're out of our distributors and we're doing training or we're seeing end users, we're very much more hands-on, approachable. We try to be, rather than maybe death by PowerPoint. Yeah. So basically, we've got a list of topics that we're looking to sort of cover and discuss. And I think for us, the best way for me and Tracy that is just we'll have a conversation around it, and we'll talk between us. So I don't know if you want to start us off with.
We'll start with the government guidelines.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about this at the moment, and the government guidelines are always wash your hands, social distancing.
There's further on entering exit.
Yeah, safe use of equipment.
Yeah, and for us, that point there, safe use of equipment. For us, although washing your hands is key, social distance is key. For us, that's not part of our remit. So for us, it's the cleaning equipment side of it that we want to touch on and discuss.
the use of equipment, what to use, advice on
yeah,
that,
and,
how to
tips
clean.
on how best to use maybe what you've got in place. We appreciate that no building is the same. Every school, college, whatever it might be, will offer up its own difficulties and circumstances. But again, we mentioned before, the challenges
The challenges are there, and everyone's trying to follow the same guidelines, of course.
The topic for me, which I think is key, which we'll move on to, is cleaning and disinfecting being a two-stage process.
Now, it is quite confusing for some people. The understanding of cleaning and sanitising, it's confusing. Yeah. A lot of people think that it's as one, and it's not.
But not cleaning.
To clean something, you have to
removing the
dirt,
the
debris, dust. Yeah. And once you've done that, you move on to sanitising.
Yeah. It is key to do the two stages. And I can give you an example of recently. One of my distributors asked me, the question was asked, basically at a community centre. They were asking the question if sanitising alone through the day would be enough to keep on top of the virus, effectively, and be enough for them. Now, in this instance, we were able to go and do a site visit, and we were able to go and look at the cleaning procedures they had in place and then offer advice. But ultimately, the first response was, no, you need to make sure you're cleaning as well as disinfecting. It's got to be that two-stage.
I actually
process.
had it wasn't a site visit. It was a phone call, and I was speaking to the end user on behalf of a distributor, and the question was, well, I've got a chemical, and it says that it cleans and disinfects. So it's quite similar to our toucan water. So they're saying it cleans and it disinfects. Can I just use it the once? Well, no, you can't use it the once. Yeah, you've got one product, so you've limited how many products you're using. So you're using one chemical, but you would have to use it to clean. Then you'd have to use it to sanitize.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the community centre, so the cleaning procedure in place was disposable. While we were on site, we discovered they had laundry facilities. So for us, for me personally, I looked at proposing microfiber, because they had that facility to launder it. It then becomes more cost effective, more sustainable, but also the cleaning side that you're getting, you are lifting and removing as much dirt and bacteria as you can, rather than being reliant on the kill on contact with a disposable cloth and a solution. And it just kind of simplified things for them. We were able to advise on using microfiber by folding the cloth into fours, giving you 8 sides of a cleaning cloth to clean. So therefore, you're going from using one disposable product cloth per table, for instance. We're having, again, it's more cost effective, more sustainable. You're able to use the product further without compromising on the clean that you're getting. Yeah. So, I mean, that was one example of tying into the clean and disinfecting. Another area of ordinarily pre-COVID, if you like, we tend to tailor our cleaning advice on top, middle, and bottom. Yeah. Realistically, now we're very much focusing on the middle surface.
And everything's to be. Everyone wants products now to be sustainable. Before, just when you were saying previously, it
was all sustainable.
Everyone was thinking about the environment. They were trying to move away from disposable, so we were showing them microfiber and laundry products. And then now COVID's happened, we totally understand everyone's.
You can appreciate why it reverts back to disposable.
Everyone was nervous and everyone was looking for disposable products, but we have to start thinking back to the way we were, and how can we keep this going and using microfiber, which would be more sustainable.
Yeah, and certainly, microfiber is not going to be for every establishment. There's going to be places where it's not going to work for them necessarily. We have disposable microfiber, but it's also talking to them about how they can use the equipment they've got and maximising the use of the equipment, whether it's be non-wovens, anti-bac non-wovens. you know, there's got to be a conversation had on how best to use the equipment.
Yeah.
And for us,
And
we
you're
would
right,
say,
everyone's different.
Yeah.
So until you can assess the situation, yeah.
and we would say, consult with your cleaning supplier as much as you can, and ask for advice and help and help on. Sort of next sort of topic we're looking to sort of cover is we're looking at daytime cleaning and moving. Obviously, cleaning is going to needs to become more often if it can. So we're looking at daytime cleaning. I suppose the first question we need to ask is who's doing the cleaning? Yeah. Because at the minute, obviously, we talk historically about schools and colleges. Historically, primary schools as well. Cleaning would be done in the morning, in the evening. Deep cleans would be done in school holidays. Yeah, yeah. Whereas now we need to look at periodic. We need to look at
cleans are happening on a weekly basis.
Yeah, we need to look at adding in daytime.
And they're looking at the top level, middle surfaces, and the bottom. And you know when someone says, "Oh, I've just cleaned that room top to bottom." Yeah. So, and that is the advice that we would give. Start from the top. When you're doing deep cleans, start from top, middle, bottom.
Yeah, but certainly now in the current times, although the top and the bottom is still important, the focus has to be around the frequently touched points. Yeah. The focus needs to be on them. But we're going to see more the need for more cleaners every day. So for us, like I say, once we can establish who might be doing it, is like, I'll give you an example again. We've both talked on this privately in terms of examples. My little boy's at primary school. You know, he's going in, they sanitize hands when they go in, they're in the bubbles within the classroom. In terms of the cleaning, it's on the teaching assistants.
It's on the teaching assistants.
Whereas for you and
my
Carly,
daughter, she's older, she's at secondary school, and the expectations is on the pupils. They're coming in and they're cleaning their own stations, before and after. Before each class and after each class, they're having to do it themselves. So yeah, so it is different. It's different for
yeah,
for
and it comes back to that tailoring, but it certainly needs to be. It needs to be. But when you need to be mindful of it during the day. I would say.
And when it's daytime cleaning, this is the area you have to focus on. Don't worry about up high. Not everyone is touching there every day. I mean, a whole day could go past and no one goes to the high level. So don't worry about it. And then and the floors don't need to be done constantly.
People got shoes on.
Kids have got their shoes on. They're running about. They're absolutely no one is needing the floors clean all the time. It's here. Yeah. You know, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid,
you leaning back, you coming
yeah. So it's all around here, and what you would do.
Yeah.
So yeah, mindful of where it is.
Where it is. That's it. Frequently touched. That's what you're looking to look and cover off, is the frequently touched items, tabletops, handrails, door handles,
chairs.
To keep on top of that. Obviously, in relation to daytime cleaning, because you move in, as we mentioned before, historically you're talking before and after, before the school's opened, after after school's closed, for instance. There's less footfall, there's less people around. So for us, the advice on sort of daytime cleaning would be around the more rapid response products that we have, whether that be pre-soak, microfiber, spray and mop systems, multi-surface, multi-surface cleaning tools.
It's almost quick response products. Sort of may actually take away the buckets, so you're not you're grabbing the mop or pre-soaking system. You've got the cloths.
Limit how much, like I say, the time is a big element as well. People are looking for quick turnarounds. So by introducing the rapid response systems, there's less focus on, like I mentioned there, filling a mop bucket up, water in your solution, taking it to the classroom to do it. It's time consuming. Yeah. So if you're looking to clean,
not every classroom's got the facility to fill a bucket up. They have to go. They have to go somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking more at the rapid response products that we have, but also just tying in a lot of them tend to be around microfiber, and we've touched on before. Microfiber might not be for every establishment, but we touched on that there's more non-professionals being asked to clean, and with the likes of microfiber and water, it's safe for someone that hasn't been trained. If you're going to be using other than water, you're going to be using chemicals, you need to make sure that the training is in place on those products. And by discussing microfiber, it just gives that little ease of it can be used with water and and the cloth.
As microfiber lifts and removes.
Because again, we go back to you lifting and removing. Fogging.
Yeah, this is a topic, isn't it? Everyone's talking about fogging. I think there's a lot of people nervous about fogs, using fogging machines, and they're right to be.
For me, fogging it's very much a professional procedure.
Yeah, it's for the professional.
And although we sell the machines and we offer advice, we would say you need as much. If you're going to be going down the route of fogging, you need as much information as you can on how they work and what to put through them. So we would say consult with your cleaning supplier and get as much information as you can. I can give you an example. For me, after we finished this afternoon, I'm going to a secondary school. They bought a fogging machine. You need advice on what to put through it, how to do it. But having the conversation with the cleaner, it's there as a tick box. And
a lot of people think that a fogger is used to clean. And it's not.
And we go back
to us.
Two-stage.
The two-stage. It's more for sanitising. You know, at the end of the day, when you use a fogger, you need to. A room needs to be prepped. Things need to be thought about. You're going to soak everything.
Yeah, which you need to do to allow it to give that time for it to work.
Yeah, it is definitely professional, and we need to remember it is stage 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't. It's not fair to give a fogger to a caretaker, a cleaner, expect them to put it in a room and it work. You need to be advised that it is stage 2 and it's part of a process.
Yeah.
There is a place. There is a place where it can be effective, but you need to have the right information on the product. And I would say consult with your cleaning supplier.
Yeah, before, if you're thinking of purchasing a fogger, using a fogger, definitely consult your cleaning supplier.
Bring them into the conversation rather than maybe just going ahead and buying one. Sort of the last topic we're looking to sort of cover is training, which again is a key subject. From us, I was on a conversation. What we're aiming to do is kind of bring infection control cleaning into the education arena, if you like. We're drawing our experience from hospitals, and care homes. We tend to see in there that it's microfiber systems that are in place because it's cost effective, it's sustainable, and it's proven to work. So we're sort of looking at them as areas, but the training on any product that you're using is key. Keeping up to date with the training on the product that you're using. Yeah.
And then bringing in colour coding will help as well with
preventing cross-contamination. The simple rule of sort of cleaning, always clean from the clean to dirty, so you're avoiding moving dirt around and cross-contaminating.
Yeah.
It's kind of keeping it simple, but reiterating the point, because you've got your professionals that were doing it, but definitely in these current times, there's more and more people that maybe haven't been trained, and it isn't as simple as just picking up a cleaning product and going ahead and doing it.
It's almost doing your top, your middle, your bottom, just as we were saying before, from the bathroom to the door. Using facilities, stop at the door and then switch, change your cloth, change your mops.
Yeah. If it's feasible, obviously we've touched on it before that it might not always be feasible, but we would very much promote from this today that, like I said, we mentioned many times, consult with your cleaning supplier, ask the question. Our roles, we're out all day every week, on hand, on site. If you feel
advice, training.
If you feel like you'd benefit from that, again, speak to your cleaning supplier. You contact us, we can arrange with your cleaning supplier to come in and see you. Very much the support is on hand, and if you're not sure, ask the question. So that sort of, for us, we were on our discussion point of view, that sort of covers the topics we were hoping to look at. Maybe if I hand back to Jo to look at any questions that might have come through that we might have had.
Yeah, so we've had quite a lot of questions coming through on the chat function. So do keep submitting those. We have had a few that came through before the webinar started. So perhaps if we can address those first, then we'll go into the ones that have come through during the session. So do keep asking those questions using the chat and the Q&A function. So the first question that we had through on email was how do you know if disinfecting is working?
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, carry on.
It's very tricky, and ultimately it's very difficult to know if it's working. For me, as we touched on before, if you look at the procedures and the principles of the cleaning and disinfecting, if you make sure you've got the right cleaning tools to do the job, in terms of make sure you're using accredited products and you're using to the correct dilution rates, then ultimately you should then have the confidence that what you are doing is working. Contact times, adhere to contact times, dwell times, and then realistically, then you should have the confidence that what you are doing is working because you're following the recommended guidelines and the procedures.
Trust your cleaning supplier and trust the chemical. Most of anything that you're given will have instructions on it anyway. So trust it. As long as you're following everything.
Follow it.
You've got to trust it. Yeah.
Great stuff. The second question we've had through is, what do you suggest if we don't have laundry facilities to wash cloths?
Well, I would say if you want to stick with microfiber, then we have disposable microfiber options.
Available, absolutely. And by doing that, you're still lifting and removing, but yes, you are disposing of it. Like we touched on previously, microfiber won't be for everyone. So then we can look at non-wovens, anti-bac products, like we mentioned before. We can look at maximising, as we mentioned before, trying to maximise what you are using and maybe make it go a little bit further. We're not sort of trying to say everything has to be around microfiber, but we can certainly have a look at what you're using and advise, and if there's ways we can tweak the way you might be doing processes just to maximise and get the most out of the product that you're using.
Yeah.
Another one we've had in is just asking if there is a national standard for colour coding with cloths in education.
No, there's
The
no.
blunt answer is no.
Yeah.
There is in the NHS, but outside of that,
there's not.
There isn't.
There's common colours that are used. You would normally find reds used in the washrooms.
Red, well, yeah, I'll start from the top. Blue, general, green, food, red and yellow in the washrooms. But ultimately, from our advice, we're saying as long as you are using separate colours, you are reducing the risk of cross-contamination.
I wouldn't panic too much if you'd gone into a kitchen and they were using yellow, for example, and as long as you didn't then go into the washrooms and see that the cleaner in there is using yellow, then you would panic.
You might not want to be in there, much longer if you do see that. Yeah, but absolutely, it's just making sure that there isn't a hard, fast and rule. You're not doing anything wrong, like Tracy mentioned. If you're using yellow in the kitchen and red front of house, or you might be using yellow in the washrooms of the school and red in the classrooms, the fact that you're using two separate colours is
as long as you have some sort of procedure in place, everyone within the building knows these procedures and they follow them, and if asked, they know, and that's really the best that you can expect.
That point there, Tracy, actually ties into the next question that we had through from somebody that is managing a few teams, and they've asked how can you get cleaning teams to engage with new regimes?
Communication for me.
Communication's key.
Yeah, discussing what you're doing and what the processes are, making sure everyone's aware of what's happening. If everyone's aware of what's happening and why it's being done, then ultimately it will make it easier for them to be on board.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
with what's happening.
Yeah, a bit of communication. If it's in a classroom, if for example a routine's changing. So say I know that some kids, they might have art on a Friday afternoon, or they might do music or story time. They might be in a certain corner of the room. Just communicate with the cleaners. If they're coming in at break times to clean certain areas regularly, if you communicate with them, they'll know on a Friday we need to focus over there.
For me, like I said, communication. As long as everyone knows what they're doing. So if you're changing a cleaning regime, make people aware so that they know there's a difference. Once everyone's come to what's happening, it will give them a lot more confidence that they're safe. Like little tip, obviously there, we talked about periodic cleaning and daytime cleaning. If it's not feasible and you're still in the process where you've got the cleaning in the morning and then you've got clean in the evening. It might just be speaking to the teachers in the classrooms, just to say, look, can you help us out? Can you make sure the desks aren't cluttered or cleared? Therefore, that gives us more time to clean, and we can get more done rather than having to do more work and removing. So ultimately, for me, I would say communication and having a discussion on what's happening and why you're doing it. And then ultimately, then, like I say, it should really give everyone in the building the confidence that everything that can be done to keep that premise safe is being done.
And another more specific question. So my cleaner changes her cleaning water after every second classroom at the moment. Is this sufficient?
It's difficult because there's ultimately you want to say, in an ideal world, you'd change the water every room.
If you think you've got your bucket of water, you've got your mop, and in the water, wring out, mop on the floor. As soon as you put that mop back in the bucket, you're contaminating the water. So,
but we appreciate it's not going to be feasible, for instance, for everyone to say, right, we can now, one bucket of water per room. Realistically, again, it comes down to reviewing the cleaning procedure and seeing how you can maximise what you're doing. If there's a process in where it might be you're cleaning the bucket every 10 rooms, can we come and have a conversation about reducing that down maybe to 5 rooms, 6 rooms, whatever it is. But the more
in an
often,
ideal world, in an ideal situation, we would probably suggest after every classroom. So if they could switch to every classroom, that would be sufficient.
Yeah. And that's why we talk about microfiber, because with microfiber clean, you're reducing dirty water to go back down. You're effectively fresh cleaning all the time, and you're picking up. And that's why we recommend microfiber. But as we mentioned before, it's not always feasible. But the more often.
In traditional mops, there is areas for traditional mopping, and we know that traditional mop, actually, if there's a spillage, and sometimes a lot of kids there will be spillages, it will absorb better. So traditional mop will actually do that better than a flat mop. So there is areas where we know, we're not saying do away with all this and just microfiber. There is
again, it comes down to kind of like I said, we spoke about maximising the clean equipment available and making it work as efficiently as you can. Really.
Great stuff. There was just one more that was submitted before the session, and then we'll move on to the live questions in the chat box. So, and that was just how often you should be cleaning touch points.
Again, for me, I like as often as you can.
Yeah.
Really, but again, it's on your time constraints.
You can never clean too much. Let's just say that. You can never clean too much. You're constant. You're always. I mean, even just now, if you think, how often have we touched this desk?
Exactly.
Where have we touched? So I would say as often as possible.
As often as it is feasible within your cleaning regime. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think we've had quite a few questions submitted in the question and answer function, so we'll start to work through those. So the first one from Robert, he's asked, hi, are you experiencing electrostatic spraying becoming more popular in education sectors? So would that be...
It's not something we don't offer, it's not something that's within our range as a product we offer, but yes we are. It's very similar to the fogging machines. So ultimately you are seeing more
there's
more of them they're being put forward more often. Can't really go into it in too much detail because it's not a product we do, but I would imagine again it's very similar to the fogging machines in that it needs to be part of a two-stage, and again it needs to be done by someone that's a specialist in it. And if you're looking at going down that route, speak to your cleaning supplier about getting, again, like the fogging machines, getting as much information as you can on that product.
Another question from Lizzie. She asks, would you use one microfiber cloth to clean and disinfect, or two?
So you wouldn't. Well, so when you're cleaning and you're using microfiber, so you would have, whether you're spraying or if it's pre-soaking or whatever you're using, so you're cleaning, and then when you sanitize. When you put sanitizer on the
you need it to allow the contact time.
You need the contact time. So most sanitizers will have a contact time, and you want to leave that there. So if you then come and wipe it up again, then you've basically you're cleaning again.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to clean,
Yeah, no,
and then you want to sanitize.
So ultimately, effectively, you could use the same, because obviously we talked before about the different sides and using it. So ultimately, if you're using it and you wipe a surface, you're cleaning.
Yeah.
If you then spray, you sanitize down and you leave it for the right amount of time in terms of the contact time, the dwell time. Once that's been down for long enough, ultimately, if you're then wiping up, you can use a new side of the cloth to wipe up then, yeah.
Hopefully that's answered your question, Lizzie. Another question, how can we teach secondary school pupils to sanitise and disinfect their own workstations in the classrooms? Any tips there?
Yeah, again, it comes down to the conversation, having a conversation with them. When you're talking about, personally for me, when we're talking about bringing students and getting students involved, my go-to would be microfiber and water, or our toucan system and disposable. For me, when you talk, again, pupils, the training that's involved with chemicals and solutions, they need to have that. And is it feasible to give them the training that they need to be able to use that product? So for me, I would say microfiber
I would
water.
think that microfiber, water, or a pre-soaking system, where you would just have a bucket in the classroom with some microfiber cloths, or non-woven.
It comes down to safety of the student.
Yeah.
And like I said, for us there, you're confident that with a microfiber and a water system, or like I said, toucan, it's a very effective cleaning disinfectant that conforms to all the EN accreditations, but we know it's safe, so we know it's not going to be harmful for that student. And that would be my worry about putting cleaning a more chemical, I would say, onto the students.
I would keep it as simple as possible.
They need to be trained.
Yeah.
And for me, the two suggestions that we can put forward are microfiber or toucan, and then you can use, if you're using disposable, you can still use that with disposable.
Mm-hmm.
But we know it's safe for the user.
Yeah. Next question that's come in, do you have any tips for cleaning washrooms, or specifically encouraging pupils to perhaps clean as they go?
I wouldn't really encourage the
Washrooms are very
pupils
difficult, aren't they?
I wouldn't encourage the pupils to clean the washrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would rather try to limit the number of students going into the washroom at any one time, allowing them to, because if you know that there's a queue outside, you're going to be in and out, get them in, out, if they're washing hands, they're using hand towels, whatever, make sure they're in the bin, just making sure that they're cleaning after themselves.
Yeah, again, obviously, from their point of view, you need to make, obviously, washing hands is very important, but from our point of view, we want to sort of leave it to the cleaning team, really. Yeah. Again, you can use rapid response, maybe like the chroma spray mops to clean periodically. Yeah. If it's feasible, like we see in the hospitality industry, if it's feasible, maybe set up more clean, so maybe they're cleaned every hour. But ultimately, I mean, the biggest thing, certainly from a boy point of view, a male point of view, I'd probably spend more time on trying to teach them to hit the target than necessarily, about cleaning and just leave it to...
Yeah, definitely. I think most schools now have got a member of the clean team in the more present, so they are going around, they're doing canteens, they're doing washrooms, and so I wouldn't put any pressure on students to do it at all. Yeah.
Maybe the conversation is try and get the message across to try and limit what you might be touching while you're in a washroom. Can you keep it to just washing hands? Don't be touching the mirrors, because ultimately you're just giving more work. You are giving more work. I
suppose if you limit the number of students in the washroom at any one time, certainly if it was the girls, when you're saying touch mirrors and they're all going around doing their hair, if they're in and out and they know that there's a queue to come in, then that would reduce touch points, I would have thought. Yeah.
Brilliant. Moving on to the next question we've got, where should we be siting hand sanitising stations?
That's a good question. I would certainly, when you're entering the building, and I don't know. I actually do know that in my daughter's school, they have got sanitised stations. All the entrances, they have separate the exits and the entrance is separate, so there's not people walking
Yeah, it's
back
part of
and
the
forth, so everything's in a
trying to do
flow.
one-way systems.
Yeah,
aren't you,
one-way systems, and also in certain floors. So I think there's I'm trying to think, I think there's 5 floors in our school.
Yeah.
So every floor has got a station. They're optional in the floors, but certainly on the entrances and the exits.
Yeah, and I guess any key area you might have within your risk assessment, possibly any key area you might have identified as being a high touch points, have sanitisers around. So you're going to be with lots of lifts, maybe have them as best you can around where the lifts are, where you know there's going to be high frequency touch points.
Yeah. That's an interesting point you just picked up on there, Pete, about risk assessment. So that would be the kind of the first step in terms of assessing your school for what needs to be put into place.
Absolutely. I mean, part of the government guys, any establishment will have had to do a risk assessment to enable them to reopen. So as part of that risk assessment, they will have as best they can identified problem areas. And that's where then they can look at certainly in hand sanitizers, they can implement hand sanitizers or cleaning equipment to help keep the premises safe for everyone.
Great stuff. We have got one more question about disposable microfiber versus traditional microfiber. Is there a kind of a benefit or a plus or minus to each?
It comes down to your circumstances for me. Ultimately, you're using microfiber, you're going to get ultimately near enough the same clean. But if you haven't got the laundry facilities to make microfiber cost effective and more sustainable, but you want that microfiber clean, then you'll use disposable.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't see too much of a difference between the actual clean and the removal that you get. Right. It's more around on the circumstance for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think that actually comes to the end of the questions that anyone submitted. If there are any more questions that anyone would like to put forward before we we've got a few more in the chat box here. Let's have a quick look at those. Microfiber cloths, can you use chemicals with this range?
Again, for us, you can, but we would always recommend microfiber being used with water because it will lift and remove 99 of dirt and bacteria. You can use it with chemicals, from our point of view,
if you prefer to use a chemical and a microfiber cloth,
you're going to limit the life of the cloth.
Right.
When you tend to use chemical with it, it sort of tends to fuse the fibres back together, and so you can, but you're not going to get as much out of the cloth as what you would if you just used it with water.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And I think another question here, is it acceptable to use paper towel roll instead of cloths?
Well, where you see paper towel being used is where we touched before on kill on contact. Where you're seeing paper towel being used, you're reliant on whatever you've got solution to kill. So the paper towel will do the same job as a disposable cloth if you're using the solution. You're relying on the solution, basically.
And if a paper cloth's wet, then you
get through more of it.
It's weaker. There is some papers will actually leave that's behind. If your surface is not completely smooth that you're using it on, if there's a bit of a grip, if it's uneven,
my opinion on the paper towel would
so you'll get a better clean from a cloth, whether it be microfiber.
My personal opinion on the paper towel, like you say there, is it very much is disposable. So like you said, if you use it on a table, you pretty much, guarantee that after that table you're throwing it in the bin. Yeah. Whereas with a J cloth, a dish cloth, whatever, you're using again because you're using the solution.
More use out
it's
of
going
it.
Further. That would just be my personal opinion on that. But as long as you've got a solution to kill, paper towel's fine to use.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time there, Tracy and Peter. Back to the audience now. We've just got one more thing to ask of you, and that's to take part in a poll that we've just set live for future webinar sessions and what you'd like to know more about from the guys at Robert Scott, the Clean team. So if you could take a second to cast your votes in terms of subject area that you might like to know a bit more about from members of the Clean team. we'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining in this afternoon and for asking your questions to Tracy and Peter. Hopefully we've covered everything off that was put forward, but if there is anything else you'd like to ask, you can get in touch with us via social using the hashtag #AskTheCleanTeam. And to follow up from the webinar session, we will be sharing the recording. I see from the chat box some people have had some issues with video, so please don't worry, we will be sharing the recording of this session in an email, and that will come with a couple of links through to our educational brochure, and also some information on the next webinar session that we've got, which is going to be taking place on the 1st of October, and that is all about the sustainable cleaning revolution. So looking at hypochlorous acid with the product specialist here at Robert Scott, Steve Courtney, and we'll have a few guest speakers in that session as well. So that will be 12:15 on the 1st of October. So thank you very much for everyone for joining in this afternoon, and hope you have a great rest of your day, and take care and see you soon.